Thank you, Chairman. I now recognize the Vice Chairman of the full committee, Mr. Huizenga, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You're going to hear a central theme on this. I leaned over to Chairman Davidson when he finished, and I said that's virtually exactly what I had written down as my question. I was just going to use slightly less pejorative language when it comes to central planning, but I think that's a lot of the question, concern, feedback that I think not just from colleagues but from taxpayers that we hear, which is, why are we making these investments into an industry that isn't needed? Well, you can't predict war, right? Well, you can't predict mass war or something, a conflict like what was happening in Russia and Ukraine. And I want, Mr. Faxon, you did a phenomenal job explaining it from your perspective on what was sort of the ramp up in the need. Mr. Follin, I'd like you to maybe expand on that or give us your take as well. I mean, you talked about perceived risk, that really this is sort of, in a way, the government funding might be that bell cow, as some might say, right? It's others are going to follow that. They're going to view that as a lead. Oftentimes, though, when we are doing our appropriations, we want to see, end of fiscal year production. We have a much different timeline than you might have. And I'm really curious, do you believe that the programs that we have, one, allow you to build the capacity for not just an immediate, but for long term? How do we maintain that? Two, do you have the flexibility to innovate and explore within those programs? And one of the sort of the central themes of a truly free market is the ability to fail and learn from that failure. We don't like that when we're sending taxpayer dollars. We don't want to see failures, but are there enough places where you can take lessons learned and apply it so that we do have a stabilized production base?
Yeah, thank you for that question. It's a great question. I'll start with the last piece first. In terms of the ability to fail, I think when you use DPA Title III dollars to support development, then it allows the government to partner with industry as they're developing the product, as we're understanding what are the risks and challenges that it takes to bring that product into full production. And then we can kind of navigate that together as we learn and come up with solutions to solve problems that invariably come up through the development phase. So I think DPA allows us to partner in that phase versus if we were doing it on our own dollars, we'd be trying to figure it out on our own. And sometimes the government can have solutions or resources they can bring to bear to also help in those situations.
Yeah, let me interrupt you super quick on that. I mean, this is called the Defense Procurement Act. So I think that makes a lot of sense to people when it's defense related. Are we focused enough with the DPA right now? Is it really into that defense mode, or have we wandered away from that core objective?
Yeah, so my personal experience is primarily with DPA for defense, so I can't comment necessarily on the percentage of funding that they make outside of defense. I would say that my experience so far is that it is focused on the priorities of the administration of the DoD. So in our case, we're working on these critical munitions that I think we've heard talked about as a priority from the other folks in their earlier testimony. So I feel like it is focused in areas that are important. I think could it be improved? I'm sure it could. What I would say is in terms of, does the funding support ramping up to actually support the rates? What happens if volume changes? How fast can you change? I would say one of the advantages of additive is it can ramp up very quickly. It doesn't require big mega foundries in order to scale it up. You're basically buying things that look like inkjet printers, right? They're bigger, they're more industrial, but they look kind of like that. In terms of timing, in 15 months, we can double production. So right now we have the ability to make about 2,000 engines a year. In 15 months, we'll ramp that up to be close to 5,000. And then another 15 months after that, we could be ready to support close to 10,000, which is what we've been given by the DoD as a target. So again, you compare that to 100 years of manufacturing things conventionally, and we can make 2,000 a year, right? So it's really promising, I think, what it can offer. The other advantage of additive is it's easy to distribute. What that means is once you have a design and once you've kind of validated how to manufacture it, there's 3D printers all over the world, right? So in a time where there's you need a surge, we can take the design, we could export it to a DoD facility or another industrial facility, and they could make the design from our design just by putting it in their printer. It's a pretty automated process. You don't need a lot of specialized labor to do that. So it's pretty easily scalable. And the other big advantage is, a lot of conventional manufacturing requires very bespoke, expensive, long lead tooling, right, in order to make a part. The 3D printer doesn't care what it's printing. It can print keychains one day and print jet engines the next day. It doesn't care, right? It doesn't have a memory. It's not targeted for anything specifically. The other advantage of that is as priorities for the DoD change, we can change what that capacity is being used for, right? So Beehive has picked this mission because this is a big priority for the DoD, and we think it's probably the area where additive manufacturing is most fertile. But as priorities change, the capacity could change with the priorities to support what's being needed. Thank you.